In 1950, over the Balkan Mountains, arms dealer Anatol is flying in his private plane. Suddenly, he hears a loud sound, and when he turns around, his assistant explodes, blowing a hole in the plane's wall. The plane begins to fall, so Anatol hurries to the cockpit and gives the pilot some advice. One engine catches fire, and the pilot panics. He yells at Anatol, saying he warned him not to fly today. If they survive, he'll report Anatol to the aviation authorities. Anatol decides to fire the pilot on the spot and ejects him, then takes control of the plane. Soon after, the plane crashes into a cornfield, and the news says Anatol is dead. His spirit ends up in the afterlife, sitting with his grandma, who doesn't recognize him. A holy court debates if he deserves heaven, but then Anatol wakes up in the wreck, badly hurt but alive. He walks through the cornfield and interrupts a TV reporter interviewing the pilot. Now the media has to change the story and report he's alive. At home in his mansion, nurses take care of him. Meanwhile, a secret group led by Excalibur talks about Anatol, who is wanted for bribery, tax crimes, and illegal profits. They all agree that it's time to stop Anatol for good. Once he's feeling better, Anatol meets his daughter Liesel, who is now a nun. He tells her he made her the only heir to his fortune, not any of his 9 sons. He never paid much attention to his real sons, choosing instead to adopt orphans, who now watch from the balcony. Liesel hasn't seen her dad in 6 years, so she's unsure about his sudden interest. He tells her that if he's killed, he wants her to get revenge for him. Then he shows her some boxes. They're part of his latest big project, the Phoenician scheme. Liesel stops him to ask about her mom, since people say Anatol killed her. Some even say he murdered all his wives. Anatol says that's not true and claims he never hurt anyone. He insists he really liked Liesel's mother. Still, Liesel asks why he left her at a convent when she was only 5. Anatol ignores the question and continues explaining the boxes. Inside are blueprints for dams, tunnels, canals, deals with powerful businessmen in mining, shipping, banks, real estate, and even the black market. His big plan is to take over the Phoenician economy using forced labor. Suddenly, one of the boys shoots a fire arrow, hitting a box. The butler quickly puts it out, and Anatol goes to handle the boys. Liesel sees Anatol's new helper, Bjorn, nearby. When Anatol returns, she asks what's in the last box. He says it's about the gap, and they'll discuss it later. He wants her to leave the convent and help with his plan, but Liesel is still unsure. They have lunch with Bjorn, and Anatol makes him take a lie detector test to see if he's a spy. Over the next few days, Anatol keeps going over his smuggled goods while Liesel studies the box contents, disturbed by the evil nature of the plan. Still, she wonders if she should go along with it so she can use the fortune to help others later. Bjorn starts teaching the boys, and Liesel notices none of them get any love or care. One morning, Anatol tells Liesel that her mother was murdered. She didn't take her own life, and he thinks his half-brother Nubar did it. Although the brothers hate each other, they still work together, and Nubar is involved in one of the box plans. Liesel decides she'll get close to her uncle to find the truth, so she agrees to join her father's plan. Meanwhile, Excalibur talks about a basic rivet used in construction, which normally costs 10 for a nickel. He plans to raise the price to mess up Anatol's plans. That night, Anatol hears about the price hike and wakes Liesel. They must act fast. It's not just rivets. All materials are suddenly more expensive. Anatol knows this is sabotage and says they're flying out at once. He hires arsonists to burn the mansion if needed to claim the insurance. Now, they must visit every business partner to fix the deals. Excalibur tells his team that Anatol is on the move. He's also learned that Anatol has brain damage from many assassination attempts. On the plane, Liesel sees a strange box. Anatol says it's full of grenades. She asks if he's ever used them, but he doesn't answer. Then he gives Bjorn another lie detector test and puts him in charge of a bag filled with cash. Liesel and Bjorn talk more and start liking each other. Bjorn says he doesn't believe in God and compliments Liesel. Just before landing, Anatol says he has no passport and doesn't need any rights. A loud sound happens, and he casually mentions last time's bomb, making Liesel start praying. Later, they arrive at a mountain tunnel project. As they observe, Anatole tells Liesel he always cared about her and had people watching her for years. Suddenly, assassins on camels show up. Anatole tells the driver to get the grenades, while Liesel shows a knife. But the driver is quickly shot. Before they can be attacked again, Prince Farouk and his guard arrive and fire their guns to scare the attackers away. Farouk flirts with Liesel and gives him a fancy knife. Anatole gives him a grenade in return. They walk through the tunnel, which shakes. Liesel is worried because it's not finished, but Anatole says it's safe. Farouk and Bjorn both offer to hold her hand, but she refuses. At the end, they meet workers and two rich brothers, Leland and Reagan. They're mad because Anatole changed their contract to make them pay more. After arguing, Anatole suggests they settle things with a basketball game. The brothers will play against Anatole and Farouk, who has never played before. While they wait, Bjorn gets Liesel to try alcohol and keeps flirting. The brothers tease Farouk, making him mess up most shots. Anatole loses hope and tells Liesel the story of her birth. He says he cut her umbilical cord himself and sent her to the convent to protect her from the boys, not to make her religious. He says she's named after his grandma, and she's the only child he ever wanted to raise. Anatole makes a final bet. If Farouk scores the next shot, they keep the old contract, but the brothers pay 10% of the gap. If he misses, Anatole gives them all the money he brought. Liesel prays, and Farouk makes the shot. Later, Anatole has another afterlife vision where he offers a deer to his wives. When he cuts it open, coins fall out. One wife says Liesel isn't his child. He wakes up on the plane and tells Liesel she has his eyes. But she also notices she has Nubar's eyes. Then Bob, a business partner, calls. Anatole lies, saying the brothers agreed to cover the full gap. Liesel scolds him, but Anatole says it's part of his strategy. Suddenly, Bjorn finds a bomb that will explode in 18 minutes. Anatole says to ignore it because they'll land in 10. That night, they visit Bob's club. Anatole gives Bob a grenade, and Liesel drinks again. During dinner, Bob gets a blackmail letter asking him to pay for the gap. He sees Anatole's handwriting and gets angry. Anatole admits the others are only covering a small part. Then gunmen led by Sergio storm in to rob the place. Bob stands up to them and nearly gets shot, but Anatole jumps in the way. He survives because papers in his pocket slow the bullet. Anatole asks Bob to remove the bullet and keep it. Impressed, Bob agrees to help pay. Later, they board a ship to meet Captain Marty. Marty knows about the gap and says no, but Anatole says it's just a polite meeting and gives him a grenade. Suddenly, Anatole collapses for blood loss and has another vision. This time, a young Liesel tells a court how her dad told her she couldn't stay with him after her mom died. Anatole wakes up as a sailor does a blood transfer from Marty to him. He then shares more about Liesel's mom. She had many lovers, including Nubar, which made Anatole mad. He wrote a breakup letter pretending to be her, saying she loved someone else. He believes that's why Nubar killed them both. When Liesel asks if he loved her mom, Anatole says no, so she slaps him. She quickly forgives him though, saying she expected worse. Anatole gives Marty a new plan, but Marty throws it out. They argue, and Anatole pulls the pin from a grenade. Everyone laughs at the crazy act, and Marty agrees to pay. Meanwhile, Excalibur learns someone is leaking info. Anatole meets cousin Hilda and asks her to marry him, but says Liesel is still his only heir. Hilda accepts the ring, but won't help with the gap. Liesel asks if Nubar is her dad, but Hilda only knows rumors. On the plane, Anatole reads an emergency letter. A new law says he must be with a notary by noon or face jail. While he talks to the pilot, Liesel sees Bjorn tapping his fingers. It's Morse code. Suddenly, Anatole sounds the alarm. The pilot was poisoned, so Anatole takes over. After ejecting him, a fighter jet appears and shoots the plane, making them crash in a forest. Everyone survives, but Bjorn's bag breaks, revealing his fake IDs. He admits he's Excalibur's spy. Anatole tries to fight him, but is quickly beaten. Bjorn says he may switch sides because he loves Liesel. Suddenly, Anatole screams. he's sinking in quicksand. He tells them not to help, but Bjorn jumps in to save him. Anatole blacks out and dreams of asking God to approve slavery. He wakes up and learns Bjorn saved him. Bjorn says passing the lie test was easy because he was trained. They camp in the wreck and talk about their rough childhoods. Liesel says she wants to leave and go back to church. Then Sergio arrives and flies them home. The Mother Superior is there and tells Liesel she was never meant to be a nun. Anatole thanks her with a donation and asks about baptism to improve his afterlife. He takes Liesel to open a box left by his dad's notary. He's never opened it, and Liesel promises to look inside later. At dinner, Anatole says the investors will meet at the Desert Palace Hotel to see the Phoenician scheme. To prepare, Anatole marries Hilda and gets baptized. He hopes this and baptizing the boys will impress the Pope. Then he makes Bjorn set up a meeting with Excalibur and vows to beat him. At the hotel, the group rides the elevator. The operator is an assassin who drinks poison. Before entering the office, Anatole asks Liesel to let him adopt her if she's not really his daughter. She agrees. They meet Nubar, who turns down the grenade. He says Liesel's mom did have an affair, but denies killing her. The brothers argue, and Anatole uses the lie test to prove he didn't kill his wives. Liesel opens the box and finds family items, letters, poison gas, ashes, and a key. Nubar says he's quitting and only came out of curiosity. In the elevator, Anatole tells the others he'll give away his money to pay the workers. Liesel is proud because she doesn't need the money. Anatole announces this during the meeting, and Excalibur listens in. The investors sign, and Anatole shows them the project model. Then a servant says Nubar wants to talk. In another room, Nubar says he wants to finish things himself, but then attacks Anatole. They fight down the stairs, hitting each other with random items. Nubar throws a poison capsule, but it bounces off Anatole's head. Anatole throws it back and runs. He returns to the meeting, but Nubar appears and tries to use a grenade. Anatole tells him to talk. Nubar sees visions of family and uses the grenade on himself, destroying the model. In a final afterlife dream, Anatole and Liesel put ashes back in the safe. Later, Anatole lives simply with Liesel and the boys, who now feel loved. Bjorn leaves the agency to work at a school. Hilda ends the marriage and starts a retreat center. Anatole opens a restaurant, and Liesel helps. Hilda returns the ring, and Bjorn uses it to propose to Liesel. After work, Anatole and Liesel play cards. Liesel hopes the Phoenician scheme can give people real jobs.